What is this? This is the Speak Easy podcast where we go behind the scenes talking about what it means to be the successfully paid speaker or author. I am your host, Altavice Pelzer, the voice coach. Listen, founder of the World Voice League, a virtual network of female speakers coming together to impact social change. With that part, guys, I need to have this conversation with you. And it may not be a conversation that you want to have. It may not be one that makes you feel good. But there's such an amazing feeling when you learn to stay in your lane. That was an ouch. I know you felt that brick. You felt it through the airwaves. It might have hit you in your shana. Now, I understand. But we're going to talk about what it means to stay in your lane and become the expert of your industry, and how when that moment happens that it all clicks, baby, you can't stop me. You can't. That's what's going to happen. So I am super excited to have our guest here with us today. Hey, Roz.
Hello, everybody.
So Roz is like thebomb.com. She is a business owner turned speaker. Like, you guys know how I tell you all of those are interchangeable. She's a business owner, she's an author, she's a speaker. She has all three of them wrapped up. But the reason why today's episode is so important on my end is because I got to see this process happen for her. I got to see, and she's not just a business owner. She's a six-figure business owner. Like, we're not talking about she's making pennies. She's making a couple dollars. So she's a six-figure business owner turned speaker and author. But her topic is not necessarily one that everybody wants to talk about. And so with that being said, Roz, tell them a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into today's topic.
Well, I'm going to do the pitch like I do for everybody else, and we're going to jump right in. I am Roz Jones, the CEO and owner of Jacksonville's Best Caregivers, where we provide 4 levels of specialized care to your loved ones: sitter, homemaker and companion, home health aide, and certified nursing assistants. When you can't do it all, you give us a call. So today we are talking about a conversation that most people don't even want to talk about. And you know what? At one point, I thought that it wasn't important until we went to Atlanta. And oh my God, I'm gonna turn it back over to Altavice. Go ahead, Altavice.
Oh, she's the best. So of course, Roz deals with caregiving, which is, oh my goodness, wills and, all of these different terms and paperwork and documents and things that we normally do not want to talk about, your trust and all of those things we don't want to talk about. So for Roz, I got to see this process of her really blossoming and standing in her own and saying, this is the topic that I am the industry expert in. This is the topic that I can spit you numbers, I can give you information, I can give you websites, resources, everything. I'm just going to go ahead and stay in my lane. Now, granted, it's not to say that she can't talk about anything else, because I told you she's a 6-figure earning business owner. So she can talk about business. She can talk about startups. She can talk about, building a team. She can talk about hiring, firing. She can talk about all of those things. Now, bye. Listen, she can talk about all those things.
Outsourcing. Besides being a caregiver, they call me the outsource queen. Okay, that is my other name. I'm going to coin that name. Yes, I am.
Right? Most definitely. And so you have to have an understanding that sometimes your topic may not be the pretty one. It may not be the sexy one, but it's the necessary one. And so we had an event in Atlanta. I was super excited to have her come and speak at the event. And when I tell you, she was, everybody gets our little nerves before we get up and everything. When I tell you, she slayed it. One of the ways that you know that you slay a speech is when people ask you questions.
After question. How long was the question and answer period?
I think her segment ended up being like an hour, because we had the Q&A, and people were asking questions. They were intrigued. They were going and messaging people, and that's what you want to do. But you can't do it if you're trying to talk about what everybody else talks about. So talk about that feeling for you, because I know that day was kind of like a little nerve-wracking for you.
You know when something good is happening when you catching hell trying to get to the location, okay? Trying to get to Atlanta, I didn't know where I was going. Lord, is this the building? Somebody come get me. You know, trying to put your clothes on. You can't get your clothes on, your pantyhose. Nothing was working right. So I let the pantyhose go. I put the shoes on and I just kept moving, right? And when I got up there and I talked about it, and even before I was done with the conversation, people were asking questions, which is not unusual. But after the speech, when the questions kept going on and on and on, because talking about advanced directives, talking about if you have to downsize your parents, do we put you in a nursing home? Do you come live with me? Do you do the new thing now that seniors are doing, which is called co-housing? It's a new thing out to help share costs, which I think is a phenomenal idea. The whole thing is that when you're having this conversation with your parents, it's always hard because your parents are still the parents. And for you to come in and make a decision for them, they're like, I'm your mama. You don't tell me what to do. I'm your daddy. You don't tell me what to do. But it's a conversation you got to have. Altavis and I had the pre-meeting before the podcast, and I was telling her, this is like sitting down and having that conversation about sex with your children that you don't want to have. It's the same type of conversation. It's uncomfortable, but it's to protect you. Talking about these documentations in the long run not only will protect you, but will protect your legacy and to make sure you have a legacy. Because my biggest example is Aretha Franklin. $80 million has been turned over to a probate judge, and the probate judge gets to decide what money people get, which one of her clothes, which one of her hats, her shoes, her house, her apartment. The judge decides who gets it. She has a son that's 64 years old in an assisted living facility. Who's going to take care of him? Who's going to manage his affairs? So the judge has to determine all of this. She spent more time planning her funeral than she did taking care of her family. And it's not fair to your family. They have to go back every time they go in court and have to relive your death. Let them have closure. Get these advanced directives in order. Get these prepaid funerals, and stop going to that doggone GoFundMe fund and stop having chicken dinners and chitlin dinners to raise money for a funeral. And stop going to the church. I just talked about this the other day. Stop going to the church. I just was on a live last Thursday with somebody. Stop going to the church, the GoFundMe fund. And look, I went to Hardest Gittins, and I got my prepaid funeral already done now. Even though there are Caucasian funeral home, I told them, I said, you got to get somebody here to cook some greens and macaroni and cheese for my repast. I did. I said, if I'm going to let you set this up, I got to have greens and macaroni and cheese. And if y'all can't accommodate that, we need to get a soul food kitchen. Look, I said, my people need chicken, greens, and macaroni and cheese. So y'all can laugh about that all y'all want, but you can put that in your funeral. You can request that in your funeral if you do the prepaid with the right people. Mine's paid for. So whenever I go, wherever I go in the country, they're going to come take my body and do whatever I say do. My brothers and sisters don't have to worry about it. My nieces and nephews, nobody has to worry about coming out of their pocket and trying to have a fish dinner, a Friday fish dinner, or a GoFundMe fund to raise money to bury me, because that's not fair. Burial prices are going up. What's $10,000 now? By the time we get ready to pass, could be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. You guys don't want one of those city burials where it's a graveside burial, and they cremate you and they put you behind in the ground in a little bitty box. Have the funeral that you want and go ahead and pre-plan it and prepay it. These advanced directives have them, because if something happens to you, who's going to talk for you when you can't talk? I told somebody the other day, who's in charge of your social media? Because if you don't have that in your power of attorney, guess what? The social media pages will not be closed down. What is your social media DNA? Does anybody know your passwords? Do you have it in a particular place? Stop putting all your information in these accordion folders. And the stuff is yellow and crinkly and all that, and people can't read it. Girl, I'm so sick of seeing them accordion folders. Stuff all yellow and crinkly. Scan that information, take those original documents, and put them in a safe deposit box. They have these little things that you can get from the Home Shopping Network, HSN, a scanner for less than $80. It's portable. You can scan it. It'll come right to your computer, and that's it. Scan those documents. Get that power of attorney, because let me tell you something. If you get sick for 3 months and stuff goes unpaid, let me tell you what's going to expire. Your life insurance, your health insurance, your car insurance. You can get evicted, foreclosure, if someone is not continuing to pay your bills for you. Power of attorney can start and stop when you want it. It's not a permanent document. It's a document so in case you cannot make decisions, someone can speak for you when you can't speak for yourself. That's my whole movement. Who speaks for me when I can't speak for myself? Who is your voice when you don't have a voice? Get that power of attorney, living will, healthcare surrogate, do not resuscitate order. Get all of that. Make sure. I'm sorry, Coach. Go ahead. I just, you let me go, and I'm like a horse at the Kentucky Derby. Giddy up, and I'm gone.
No, but see, that's the thing. Do you guys see how when it comes to her area of expertise, she can rattle off everything that you need. She can tell you the procedure. She can tell you the processes, because that is her lane. That is what she does. That is who she is when it comes to, her business. And when she gets on stage, it resonates with the people. If you are someone who is trying to teach people something that you have not fully learned yet, then it makes it really difficult. If you are trying to teach somebody something that you just learned in order for you to just make a couple bucks because it's the thing that's in right now,
right,
you end up doing more damage than anything else, because guess what? Now, when you flip to something else, you done lost most of the people because that's not what they came to you.
But you know what, though? People can tell when you're out of your lane. People can tell when you don't know what you're talking about. And let me say this about speaking, and this is from a lesson learned from a couple of events, and I'm not going to call them out. However, before y'all get out there, y'all need to ask some basic questions. Am I right, Coach?
Yes, indeed.
Number one, who is the audience? Number two, can I sell from the stage? Number three, are you going to pay me? Number four, are you going to pay for my room, my hotel, all of that? Now, if the questions to some of that is no, and that goes against what you want, then don't do it. Just because somebody asks you to speak, that's not the only thing. And look, let me tell you something else too. If someone tells you that you are not ready for the main stage to speak, don't get your feelings hurt about that. Get yourself prepared and ready, and get you somebody that can sit down and work with you, so that when you get up on the stage, you're not fumbling and looking like a cartoon character when you get up there, looking like a fool. Okay? So, I wanted to speak. They have this huge conference that's coming up in November. And the lady said, Rosalind, you're not ready for main stage. I said, okay, I wasn't hurt by it. They said, but we can offer you virtual. I said, okay, but I'm going to rock that virtual. Trust me. And once I rock it, next year, you're going to invite me on the main stage. You dig what I'm saying? I don't get hurt by that, because there's always opportunities. There's always somewhere to speak. Every dollar's not a good dollar. Every conference is not a good conference. Okay? And when people say, oh, I have 500 people registered, ask to see the numbers. Please, ma'am, please, sir. Say, particularly if they're on Eventbrite, because Coach, doesn't Eventbrite show you the numbers every week?
Yes, so the organizer can determine if they want to let you see how many people are registered or not. Yeah.
Right. So If the organizer's on the up and up, they shouldn't be embarrassed about their numbers. If they don't want to show you their numbers, ain't nobody, that's a hint. And you got time to pull out. I'm just making some observations from my own experiences.
It's the truth. And this is the thing. So it's interesting because I'm very different and I'm very deliberate when I do my events. And so I never do events with more than 25 people. That's just me, because
right.
I do networking events and I want you to actually network with people in the room and have real relationships that you're building. And so I keep my meetups and things really small. And that's also the introvert in me. But I let you know that ahead of time. And so I know that there's a lot of people who have been connected to bigger names, and they want you to, oh, yeah, we're going to work on having 1,000 people or work on having 100 people in the room. And you get there and that's not what you see. That's, again, it goes to, I talked about this on LinkedIn this morning as well. There are some questions you need to have in place. There are some things. Nobody wants to be a broke speaker. Don't nobody want to be a broke speaker, but there's some really important things that you need to put in place in order for you not to be a broke speaker. And it starts with you staying in what's your topic? What's your area? Be the expert in that area. Then it comes to what's those questions that you need to ask, the conversation that needs to be had. Then it goes to the next thing. And this is the piece that really, I was sitting there in awe watching Roz. Are you somebody that's personable when you get on stage? Do you make people want to ask you questions? Do you make people want to engage and talk to you? Because some of y'all,
you're boring. Let me go ahead and say it. You don't have to say it.
I was trying not to say it.
You're dry as paint. You're dry as paint.
Not a nice way to say it, y'all.
I'm sorry. Look.
It's the truth. I need you to have this understanding that you gotta be able to carry the conversation. You gotta be able to. If you're on stage and you sound like the dry eyes guy.
And are you connecting to your audience? If your audience, say for instance, with me being in nursing, if my audience is nursing, then I know that I got to give them numbers. We are numbers people. Okay? I'm gonna give you a number. 117 million people are gonna need caregiving in 2020. It's gonna impact nursing homes, hospitals, long-term care, and families, and everybody that supplies to these people. Pharmacies, wheelchair, all of this is gonna be impacted. Okay? 117 million people are going to require some type of home care service. Are we ready? We're technically going into a healthcare crisis. And out of those 117 million, 6 out of 10 don't have advanced directives. So right there, I know that, I had to, you got to give numbers. You got to show the urgency. You got to show the impact. You got to be able to connect. All right? That's the big number. But on a personal level, I went on and connected too. I talk about how the mother of the church asked me to come in and to help her with, going to the hospital, and she had emergency, and I didn't even have the paperwork to say, yeah, go ahead with the surgery. And all I could say was, whatever the hospital policy is, please move forward and save her life. That's all I could say. Because I didn't have the documentation. Let's not let that happen. So the biggest thing that I'm talking about now, of course, is the documentation, but also as a speaker, realize that, if you are good at double dutching or jumping rope, stay in your lane. Coach is good at podcasting and getting people to speak and throwing people off the cliff, making them do stuff they don't want to do. That's her calling to fulfill. Now, if you don't want to be around her, then, if you're going to be around her, you either need a life jacket or a parachute, one of the two. But understand that if someone tells you you're not ready, use that opportunity as a time to get yourself together and start speaking at small places, with 10 or 15, get comfortable. Because let me tell you, speaking at 10 or 15 is different than getting up on the stage when you're speaking in front of 500 to 1,000 folks. It's a whole nother animal, boo-boo. Trust and believe. Speaking virtually is okay because you don't see the people. Ain't nobody walking out on you, putting their church finger up. You don't have to worry about that. But, if you don't have the audience, you'll know because, first of all, they'll be looking at their phone. They'll be getting up and walking out. They'll be talking. When you don't have the people's attention. So, you have to understand who your audience is. You have to be able to connect. How do you connect? You connect with a story. Stories sell. Coach, tell me if I'm wrong. Okay.
You want it. That's right.
Stories sell. My first speaking coach was Andy Enriquez, and he told me about being a master. If you don't have a story, and he said, and if you're using a personal story, and if it's something personal and you're not over it, don't use it. Because maybe you're still dealing with some stuff. You understand what I'm saying? You don't want to get there, tell a story, and break down. And everybody breaking down with you, then you've lost the whole audience. You want to tell a story that's going to call them to action. That's going to make them say, you know what? Somebody else is going through this, but look, they're standing on stage. We all get to the point every now and then when we say we want to quit. God knows, I told Coach before we got in here, I said, girl, look at here, I'm ready to quit. Shut it down. Well, you ain't going to do it. I said, watch my smoke. I'll bet you $2 to a horse's hoof. I'll shut it down. But we get tired, but I still go. I still pull my 80, 90 hours a week without a problem. I still get on podcasts. I still, travel. I still do what I got to do because I know I'm on a mission to make sure that people will not go to the grave on a GoFundMe fund, that people will be able to handle their business because they got their paperwork. We got to have our paperwork in order now because it's not like it used to be where everybody grew up in the neighborhood and stayed in the neighborhood. People are moving away. So it used to be the doctor knew all the children. The doctor doesn't know all the children anymore. The hospitals don't know. So now they're asking for power of attorney along with a license because they want to make sure you're the person on the paper. All the divorces, all the blended families, all the mixed cultures, we don't know who belonged to who because everybody look like everybody. We don't know who belongs. We don't. Exactly. We don't. So, it's important to have the paperwork and stop thinking, if I give you power of attorney, you're going to take everything out of my bank account. You can shut that power of attorney down at any minute. Okay? Get your documentation in order. If you have your husband that was in the military, get his DD-214 where he was buried because you get a free burial Monday through Friday. You can't bury on Saturday and Sunday with the military. Little things like that. No. Only Monday through Friday, honey. So if you're down on Friday, you got to get them buried the following
day. So I was about to say, so if you got to wait till Monday till they open?
If you die on a Saturday and you want to be buried the same day, it won't happen. You'll have to go through a private funeral home. And the private funeral home will have to take care of everything. The military, yeah. The private funeral home will do everything for you, but then the military won't come and actually physically bury you until the following week. Oh, right. And what's real bad, if you were in the military and Jewish, because their particular has to be buried within 24 hours. So that is, they have to go to whoever will handle the 24-hour period. You have to think about all of that in advance. All that. Prepare. Go ahead and get your stuff in order. Y'all stop being silly. Oh, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about it. But you ain't got no problem getting on the phone gossiping. You'll talk about somebody else. But you want to talk about, let's make some long-term caregiving plans in case I get sick. Do I want to be on a feeding tube? Do I want to be incubated? Do I want to be resuscitated?
Truly the unsexy stuff, because that's what I went through with my mother, was that we never had conversations. I mean, we knew that she never wanted to be in a vegetative state, but
On a feeding tube.
yeah, on a
Incubated.
feeding tube doesn't
You
mean
don't
that
know.
you're in a vegetative state. And so we were stuck in that place.
Yeah, you could still be in a feeding tube and walk around just like Altavis and I. You know what I'm saying? However, you could be on a feeding tube and be in a coma. Do you want to stay in a coma? There's a woman here in Florida. I talked about that in Atlanta. Her name was Terry Schiavo. Her parents, and the husband fought about letting her go. The husband wanted to let her go. The parents said, oh no, she's still in there. She's living. 20 years, this girl stayed on life support and in a nursing home until the judge said, it's time to let her go. I don't want to be hanging around for 20 years. This man couldn't bring closure. This man couldn't go on with his life because I'm going back and forth to court. The same thing with Aretha Franklin. They go to court probably every other month behind this foolery. Please.
And that's the thing. This is why I tell people, okay, even if you don't think that your topic is one that is, sexy, your topic is not one that
exactly
makes you feel uncomfortable. That's not the point of you being the speaker. The point of you being the speaker is for you to educate and empower. You guys know, whenever I do anything, everything that I touch, I always tell speakers, that's what you're coming to do, to educate and to empower. You want to educate them on that particular field, that industry, and then you want to empower them to do something. If you are not doing that, educate and empower when it comes to every event that you show up at, every interview, every event, virtual, live, meetup, networking, whichever. When you show up, it's to educate and empower. They should leave your presence not just feeling good. Oh, that part.
You got to bring awareness, educate, empower, and then call to action.
Come on.
What are you going to do? Because now, all we're accountable for is giving them the information. Now, if they don't do nothing with it, it's off our hands. You dig what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Just like in the church, all the pastor's supposed to do is to give us the information. He ain't supposed to go out there and get the people. All he's responsible for is preaching. I ain't seen nowhere in the Bible where it says we go out in the highways and the preacher go out in the highway and byway. All we're supposed to go out here and do is give the information. That's the part of the disciple. We go out here and we give the information. We are disciples. Okay? We go out and we evangelize. We go out here and we give the information to shake the people up, to make them move, to make them do something different. That's our purpose. That's our purpose. Evangelize, educate, and empower. And that's what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to give them the information. You can't drag them to the cross. You can tell them about the cross. That's it. That's it. That's all you can do. You can tell them about the goodness and what it's done for me. But it's up to you to decide, do you want that? Do you need this? Is this information enough for me to go ahead and make a change in my life? And it should. It should. It should. Everything you do should make somebody think and at least change or pass that information along to somebody else. If they don't need it, somebody in your circle needs this information. Don't sit here and tell me everybody you know got their will. You're a lie. Everybody in your circle got a do not resuscitate order. You a lie. Everybody got a power of attorney. You a lie. Everybody got their funeral plans together. You a lie. Everybody got long-term caregiving planning. You a lie. You're lying. Because if it was, we wouldn't have all these problems now. We wouldn't have probate court. That's why I know you're lying. You're lying. Child, boo.
That's the part right there, guys. And again, I've had people who say, well, I don't know if people are really going to, resonate with my topic. No, go ahead and talk about your topic. Now, the other thing that I always ask anybody who comes onto the platform is, have you had any blunders? Now, we've been talking about a few before we went live. But have you had any blunders as you've gone on to taking this from just the entrepreneurship and the business owner to being the speaker and the author?
You want to talk about the blunder in the caregiving business or the blunder in the speaker? Which one you want me to do first?
The speaker. Let's start with the speaker.
Oh, man, I had a good caregiving one.
We could do that one right after.
Oh, God. The biggest blunder that I have ever made is that I doubted myself and my abilities, and it showed on stage. Yeah. I doubted myself. And my attitude, I had a bad attitude, and it resonated on the stage. So the people didn't connect because I got up there funky. I sure did. I got up there, baby. I had an aura about me. Look, I'm going to get up here to do this and sit my behind down. And it showed. I had someone come sit next to me and ask me, what was wrong with you? I said, nothing. They talking about you alive.
I'm sitting over here just shaking my head going, man.
Let me tell you what you need to do before you speak. And this is me talking. This is just from my personal experience. Before I get up and talk, I walk away. Usually I walk away, and I have a particular scripture that I have that I like, which is John the 15th chapter, the first 15 verses. Abide in me and I'll abide in you. Those things that ain't supposed to be around, snip it and clip it and get rid of it and, shrug it away and shred and all that stuff. And then, I talked to myself. I said, don't nobody else know this topic better than you. And the song that I usually say, sometimes you got to encourage yourself. Before you get up on that stage, you got to encourage yourself, because usually the last 5 minutes before you get up on the stage, you by yourself, honey. Ain't no mama, ain't no daddy. It's just me, oh Lord. All by myself. And you got to learn how to encourage yourself. You know how you see these Olympians and boxers and stuff, you leave alone like the last 30 minutes before they do their event or whatever? That's because they're getting their mind together. You got to get your mind together. If not, it's going to resonate. And that's the difference between a winner and a loser. How are you preparing yourself? So that was my big blunder.
And then what was the one in your business? What has been the big blunder?
Honey, let me tell you what I did. I was bathing the patient and everything, and we had done everything, and got her dressed and put her in a chair. She said, Rosa, come here for a minute. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, I got to tell you something. I said, what? She said, come here. I said, ma'am. She said, you forgot to put on my panties.
I had to put myself on mute.
I forgot to put on underwear. I said, oh, Lord. I said, come on, baby, let's go back to the bed. God, I don't want you to whip this. She said, no, just bring them right here. I can do it right here. I mean, because, it was only us in the apartment. Just bring them here. I'll stand up right here. We'll put them on right here. Oh, we kiki and caca about that all the time. She said, don't forget my panties. But she reminds me of Eartha Kitt with the Eddie Murphy scene where she leans up to him and she says, I'm not wearing any panties. And that's just the way she leaned up to me.
That is too funny. When we talk about blunders, that is, wow. That is, I've never heard one like that before.
But you know what, though? I'm not the only caregiver that's done that. I'm not the only one. Or my other blunder was I got in the car and left the patient at the house, and we were supposed to be going to get her pedicure. And I pulled off. And realized when I got there, she wasn't in the car.
Had to go back and get her. Y'all gotta understand that life happens, y'all.
Life happens. And you know what? I try to be so meticulous. But, I went to get the car, for her, and I put the wheelchair in and everything and all of that, and forgot to go back and get her. Oops. She said, I was wondering when you was going to come back and get me. I said, I'm sorry.
Oh, wow. But you know what? It speaks volumes about, us as individuals, because a lot of times we want to make it all perfect. We try to, and then guess what? Something that happened, you forget to put on drawers. You just had something.
People think, and just like sometimes as caregivers, you get so busy. And let me say this, because a lot of times people say, oh my God, I forgot to give them their medicine. Give it to them the next day. If they're already asleep, unless it's something that they really, really need, you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have an hour and a half before you give them their medicine and an hour and a half after, so far as the time, giving it early or giving it late. So if it's still within that hour and a half, 2 hour time, it's okay. Now, if they've been asleep for about 5 hours and you realized it, well, the statute of limitations may have passed, but just because they don't get that one dose doesn't mean it's gonna, they go into their grave. Or, if you forgot to make a doctor's appointment, or if you forgot to pick up, whatever. We forget. And it's okay. It's okay as a caregiver. It's okay. God knows it's okay.
You gotta have that grace.
You got to give yourself grace. Because let me tell you something. I've been on both sides. I have given the care, like to my grandparents and to people in the church. I have been their caregivers. And then now, as on the family side, and now in the business. Look, this was not my plan. Trust me. I was in corporate doing very well. And if it wasn't for the mother of the church, I wouldn't be in caregiving. I went from 2 days of caregiving to taking care of her for 2 weeks, and now it's a lifestyle. Wow. Never thought in a million years. Never thought. But for me to go back into an office, it probably would kill me right now. I couldn't handle the 4 walls. I couldn't.
And that speaks volumes.
Yeah, I love the freedom.
That thing that's really going to give us our freedom is that thing that it just by happenstance comes about.
How valuable is your freedom?
Ooh.
Can you put a price tag on, you being able to go into your kids' soccer and speaking and seeing them graduate? A lot of people are working and can't see their children graduate, or for whatever reason. Most of my engagements, if I want to go to now I have more freedom. I can fly places. I can, go to different things. I can do this, but when I was in corporate, there was a lot of things during the day I couldn't do. Doing a live broadcast like this during the day. If I had been in corporate, I'd have had to sneak out the building, duck under a tree, whatever. But now, I can talk freely and I don't have to worry about, I got to hurry up and get off of the broadcast. Nah. Mm-mm. It's not like that, and for me, being able to do this takes the stress off, so far as having something regimented. Yeah, some things about the day is regimented. You got to check your emails, you got to respond like that, but it's not so between the hours of 8 and 5, I got to get everything done. It's not that structured. Right. You got to have systems. Don't get me wrong now. You got to be respectful of people's time. You got to respect people. You got to respond to emails in a decent and in order time. But but being limited by somebody else's rules. I've supported all kind of companies, insurance companies, TV stations, with all of my talents and gifts. Now it's time for me to take care of what I want to do. And this freedom allows me to help more people than what I could when I was in corporate. I was supporting somebody else's vision. Now I got 20/20 vision.
Oh.
What about that? Is your vision clear?
That
all I
part.
gotta say. That part right
So
there.
this episode has been absolutely phenomenal, y'all. I'm sure we done went past our time, but
I don't know. We did. We started before. Look, we started before 2:00, and we was going and said, "Oops, we forgot to record."
But I needed you guys to have this understanding that when it comes to being the successfully paid speaker, there are so many different things that come with that. And if you're attempting to be something that you're not, if you're attempting to talk about a topic that you're not familiar with, just to fit in, it's not going to work for you. It's going to be short-lived. You're always going to be chasing down the next best thing, the next greatest idea. And so, Roz, let them know how they can reach out to you, what you have coming up, because some of them may be ready to come into your industry.
I will be in. Is it Arlington for SpeakerCon on November the 1st and the 2nd?
Yes,
is that Arlington? That's Arlington?
Mm-hmm.
I will be in Arlington, Virginia, my old stomping grounds. If you guys can believe it, a long time ago, I went to school. I was in Virginia. My dad was stationed at Fort Belvoir up there. So I'm going back to my old stomping grounds, and my mother graduated from Howard University up there. So it's really, something special. And that's where they met. So I get to go back to the place where they hugged and kissed and met and all that kind of mushy stuff. So I will be at SpeakerCon on the 1st and the 2nd. And the following week, I will be back in Chantilly to speak for Dakisha Williams for her program. I can't think, she's going to kill me. It's called Get Ish Done. That's her program. So I will be speaking on her program on the 8th and the 9th. And I'm supposed to be somewhere else, but I can't remember. But those are the two. To get in contact with me, my Facebook page is R-O-Z Jones, Roz Jones. LinkedIn is Rosalind Marshall Jones, R-O-S-A-L-I-N-D, Marshall Jones. And then my business page is Jacksonville's Best Caregivers. If you all have enjoyed this time with Ultra and I ask that you leave a review on my business page. Please, ma'am, please, sir. And also on my LinkedIn page, say, hey, I really enjoyed you. This was great information, so that people know that, hey, what I gave you was worthwhile. And so that helps people. You won't believe how reviews help people make a decision. And then this time they need to make a decision about long-term care planning.
Oh my goodness, guys. I love bringing in the guests that I have, and I've been excited to be able to work with Roz personally in the community within the last, years?
Yeah.
And
she probably wants to get rid of me, more than likely. She was.
No, you stuck with me. So, having her as a speaker at events, having her on the team, having her in our accountability call, and just watching, her growth and seeing the things that she's been able to accomplish. She's doing great things. And I absolutely appreciate it. I can give her a directive, and sure enough, it's going to be done. Now, she may be huffing and puffing as she go over the cliff, but she got her parachute ready.
Let me tell you something. When she bring it to me, that's the final straw. Trust and believe. You don't want it to be handed over to Roz. Yes, darling.
That's it. That's it. But it also speaks to, you being able to connect with people in different industries and really do some phenomenal things. Because one of the things that I love about the events that we do, the networking and meetups, is that we have people in different industries that come and speak. Mm-hmm. So it's not just, business, this business. No, they're talking about several different things, because we want to make sure that, again, we educate and empower. We want you to take action.
But we're talking about life, things that happen every day. Mm-hmm. some people talk on the big stage, you look at some of these big speakers, but sometimes you just want to connect to the everyday, Pookie and them, in some of the groups they call me Big Mama, and that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind being called the mother of the group. Trust me, I don't have a problem with it. But everybody knows when I do this,
I just like to make a suggestion.
I just want to make a suggestion. And look, when my camera comes on and I put my finger up, I'm gonna wait till you finish. But like I said, I don't have a problem being the mother of the group. I don't have a problem being the I don't know if you want to call it the strong arm or whatever, but you need someone in the group that's no nonsense. I mean, look, y'all see I like to kiki and caca and giggle and all that. I work hard and I play hard.
That's it. Yeah.
But whatever group I'm in, I'm loyal. But if I'm stepping up to the plate, everybody gonna step up to the plate. Now I may not make a whole lot of comments in active comments, but I'm active. When I make my comments, and I'm not making no crazy comments. They know that. I'm gonna eat you up and I'm gonna love you at the same time.
That's it. And that's what speaks volumes about it. So again, guys, that's why I needed you guys to hear this episode. Thank you for those that have shared it out. I appreciate you guys.
Aww.
For the comments from our live studio audience. Because you guys know that without the Speak Easy podcast listeners, there would be no Speak Easy podcast. We appreciate you guys because you guys keep the conversation going even after the episode has ended. So with that being said, guys, make sure that you go over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review by going to bit.ly/Speak Easy Podcast Show. Let us know how this particular episode resonated with you, or maybe it didn't, but we want to know. With that being said, we appreciate you guys, and until next time, don't forget to press it out. See ya.